Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Nerds of Legend. I'm Ben, next to me is Brendan, and below me is Joel and Melissa. And tonight we're going to be talking about inventions with gnomish inventions of a particularly... I lost the thread. Sorry. Anyway, thanks everybody for joining us. I just got these new painting glasses today, and I wanted to show them off to the class. Found them on Amazon, $30. Pretty solid. I'm really happy with this purchase. Anyway.
When you wear those, you become Sputtywink the Ebullient.
Yes, I agree. So
that is what you need to do.
Sputtywink Twinkleton the 13th.
I think I've found my new muse. So tonight we're going to be talking about Escape from Undermountain by Mark Anthony. I remember the name finally. Other than that, I don't know if we planned an episode for next week when we're doing our normal discussion. We'll figure that out. Maybe another Warhammer one. I don't know.
It'll be something, and it'll be nerdy.
It'll be something. It'll be nerdy. It's going to be great. Just remember, if you got a chance and you're interested, give us a like and subscribe or whatever on YouTube, because we've been growing weirdly fast. So, nothing, small growths, but, we're pretty happy with it so far.
Don't forget, Ben, we like to announce whenever we visit cons. We were at a particular convention.
Yes. We went to RockCon in Rockford, Illinois. It's a convention that's been going on for 50 years. They had their 50th anniversary this past weekend. Going on longer than Dungeons and Dragons has existed. So...
Yeah, still with just as much fantasy.
So, no, actually, there wasn't a whole lot of fantasy. It was a whole lot of old guys with military simulator games, which was still pretty cool.
True.
Just by stepping in the door, me, Brendan, and Sean, I think, brought the average age down by about 5 years. So,
true grognards, by definition, like Napoleonic little bayonets.
Yeah, little like war. I didn't even know there were battleship tabletop games, but it's a thing. I will apologize for the fact that my mouth is blue. My son, we celebrated my son's birthday today, and he wanted a blue cake. So, no, that's tomorrow. But Mary works tomorrow, so we had to do it today. But yeah, so blue mouth. Sorry if it's distracting, but we're gonna push forward anyway.
Now it's all I think about.
I know, that's all you can see. So we're gonna be moving forward up.
You're the second to last frame on the cover of an Animorphs book.
Blue tongue skink up here.
Yeah, you're like not normal. You're the first one after the normal kid. Shout out to Animorphs.
Oh man, that's a portion of my childhood I forgot about.
Oh yes, Animorphs is to Goosebumps as Digimon is to Pokemon. It was the far more serious, less popular.
I know Animorphs are pretty popular.
Super, yeah, but it wasn't as popular as Goosebumps. It says it wasn't as popular. It went way harder.
Yeah.
People died.
There's definitely like a certain amount of body horror involved.
Yes, yes, the kid morphs into a fly. And he gets hit with a swatter, and he morphs back into a human, and his leg is broken.
Ugh.
And my favorite character, I thought I had a crush on her because I was like 11.
Was she the one that dies?
Dies at the end. That's Animorphs. It's like Digimon. It's like if they get deleted, they're
they're gone. Yeah.
Less popular, far more serious iteration.
I don't know if
shout out to Animorphs.
There's got to be something else. I can't think of what it might be. But
Boxcar Children. Babysitter.
Wrong era.
That was a little earlier.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll think of it. It'll come to me. Yeah. So, the book. Brendan, this was your pick this week, so yes. Why don't you give us a little synopsis?
Sure. It doesn't really need a super long one. Basically, Artek the Knife is a burglar, a thief, a scoundrel. I believe he's 1/4 orc, as I recall.
Yes.
And and run into some troubles lately of law and coin, and is essentially approached to find a bumbling, hapless noble who has stumbled into Undermountain, Undermountain is a massive underground labyrinth created by a mad wizard. That's the preface to a lot of D&D modules. But Artek must go on what is essentially a setup suicide mission.
For those of you who are like D&D nerds, it's set in the same like sort of setting as Tales from the Yawning Portal. If you're into like the recent D&D stuff,
or the Dungeon of the Mad Mage.
Yeah, both are in the same. Yeah.
And I guess in terms of context, there was a point in my life, I guess still more or less, where I lived in a library and essentially grabbed every book that had like a dragon or a knight on it, or a wizard.
That's still how Joel picks books today.
Trifecta.
Yeah, I don't know why you're criticizing.
Oh, I'm not criticizing. That's where it started. And I was grabbing books and
no, they also can have wizards on the cover too.
Dragon, wizard, knight. You've expanded, and so what ends up happening is I like D&D. The first D&D books I read were library versions of the first edition Gary Gygax's TSR books, and so I'm like, wait, D&D, they have novels that are from D&D. It's like putting chocolate cake on pizza. It has to be better, right? It has, good plus good has to equal better. That wasn't always the case. I think the reason why R.A. Salvatore is so renowned, I think why Drizzt is such a popular, endearing character, is because it's like, oh my gosh, D&D books that are good. Because there's a lot of these paperbacks.
Yeah,
I'll save you some trouble, that are not very good.
Yeah,
I was a huge fan of the Baldur's Gate game, the first one, using the Infinity Engine, and there was novelization of that Baldur's Gate novel, which was hot trash, and I had to find this out the hard way by reading it, and so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna burn through these. I think I was almost too young to not overtly hate them, and so I found my was it the time of like this summer reading like pizza thing, where it's like if you read a chapter book, each chapter counts for a book read. I may have watched my Chicago White Sox lose to a lot of people. My first game, they lost to the Texas Rangers. Congratulations, Texas Rangers! And that was almost
wildly off track. This synopsis has nothing to do with the book.
I finished the book synopsis. This is a historical.
We're just ripping.
Wow.
We're just riffing right now.
Yeah,
this
D&D campaign somebody wrote down.
This particular novel, even as a kid, threw me because I'm like, wait a second. There is interesting, non-tropey characterization. A lot of characters in this book, it's a very character-driven story, and a lot of these characters were not what I was used to reading. We were talking about, hey, you have knight, you have wizard, you have dragon, and this kind of broke that mold for me. This is the first book I read, especially a D&D property, where it wasn't just knight, wizard, dragon. It was like these characters are different than what I'm used to. They seem like individual, separate characters, and that's what drew me to it.
What character was Corin?
That's a good question.
Like, it was
the skull?
Clear. Artek was your rogue, right? But he was also he was also like the brains. He took a little bit of a fighter, a little bit of a fighter, a bit of a rogue.
Very anti-hero. Very anti-hero.
Was very clearly the magic user. I don't know where the party's construct of like the talk.
Corin was the fighter, remember? Because he'd like take people, he'd like close his eyes and like whip his rapier around and like cut him into shreds.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, he was like, "I'm a coward." But he was also smart because he like won the chess game.
You can be both. You can be good at fencing and be a coward.
Joel said something that like kind of that like made a lot of sense for me. Is like you can almost read the wolves.
Oh yeah, so many times.
Like this, like he's got the like, he's this coward. He runs off. He gets like he gets taken. Whatever, they're running around, chasing him on the horse, and then at the end, conveniently, he's like, "Oh, good." Like you can just see the dice roll on the table.
Yeah.
Yes.
if this book didn't come out of an actual campaign,
Joel, do you have your mic set up right? Because it's really quiet when Missy's talking.
I'm kind of.
Oh, yeah. You're still getting over a thing. My bad.
How's it sound now? Better?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, better. Because
I also turned it up.
It's never going to not pick up his voice.
Right. That's you sound a lot like I was straining, and I'm like, our viewers are going to be straining harder than I am.
Yeah,
but yeah, absolutely good point. You could see the beats in the story where it's like, if you rolled above a 15, go to page 47.
Yeah.
It was very.
It did feel it. The thing is,
choose your own adventure.
It kind of felt like a choose your own adventure. You know, like it had the same campiness, but like it to me was entertaining. Like I was watching somebody play D. Like I'm listening to an episode of Critical Role, or like listening to an episode of a D&D podcast. Like they're explaining their story, because it was boom, 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 boom. It was very interesting to see, because like my D&D world is 5e, not because I've only had the opportunity to play 5e. So, but I know of the rule sets of original and a little bit of advanced, and this read so clearly like the motivation of an original Dungeons and Dragons campaign. You know, like the noble is the one with the most powerful toys, and you know, the one that came in and he doesn't have a hand, he has the device, and you know, he's doing all of these things because only nobles can go dungeoning, and you know, this isn't something for commoners, you know, and that's the whole motivation of Dungeons and Dragons. The first one is for you to like become the king and like rule whatever while going on these adventures, and that's how you fund your kingdom, because you can't make anything, you just dungeon.
What's interesting was like Artek's character at the beginning was almost like the stereotypical edgy rogue. I could hear the player in my head going, "Shut up! It's what my character would do."
Yeah. But he also follows that oh so common trope of the guy who's like, I used to be a villain, but now I want to go straight, blah, blah, blah. I just got done reading another book because the guy's like, I can't stop killing. I want to go straight. And then he just accidentally kills everybody with a dagger, you know, like, because he's just so good at it. But now he's trying to be a monk. And, you know, like I've been running across that trope a lot. Is these characters that are unbelievably talented at one thing, and then they want to do anything but that one thing, but then have to get drugged back into that life. And it's like,
every time I think I'm out, they just keep pulling me back in.
Right, but what's funny is like the world that
they're Godfather, by the way.
the ones like that trope is. It's hard to, like, this one was done well, you know, like, listen, I know you're good at stealing stuff. I need stuff stolen. I'll pay you a shitload of money. Oh, by the way, my wizard is going to kill you in 2 days if you don't do it. So chop, chop. You know, like, that one was done within the world of D&D. Like, it's the only way it makes sense is if somebody who's like, I've got 4 hours to fill with all you assholes before I run out of pizza and beer. So let's go. And,
well, and then they also meet the Mad Mage himself at the end of the book.
Oh, he was great.
Oh, so good.
I didn't know. I thought I thought all along his thing was backwards. Like, you know, like they're like, oh, we keep getting farther away, but I thought like it was maybe like they were actually getting closer to the destination. So like I wasn't completely wrong. Like they needed to go down,
down
the way out. But I don't know. Like
some Ender's Game shit. The only way out is down.
Yeah. Like, I didn't dislike it. It was fine, right? Like, it was an adventure story. It was very surface, and I mean no disrespect with it.
Yeah.
It was very surface level.
Oh, yeah.
Like, for me, there wasn't a lot of character development. I wasn't emotionally invested in any of them. Like, there was nothing that really kept me.
You weren't supposed to be.
Of, like, pure spite of just needing to finish it.
Yeah.
We, honestly, that statement, Missy and I had this conversation a couple days ago, and it it actually got me thinking. She's like, well, where's the character development? And I'm like, who the fuck cares? The guy stabbed a bunch of shit and he got stuff and he left. Like, you didn't die.
Yes, remember this is
that's the fundamental difference of like her genre. It's all about how the people grow and what they become in their struggles. And mine is literally like physical struggles. Mine is Cole. You good?
Sorry.
Mine is she's getting over being sick. My books, the fantasy books, like I realized they don't have a lot of character development. Like even Lord of the Rings doesn't have a lot of character development. You got like 5 books with Legolas in it, and he's like doesn't grow at all. Like he's the same guy from page 1 to the last of the other.
He doesn't break snow.
Yeah, like that's it. He doesn't break snow, and at the end he's like, I guess dwarves are people too. That's the entirety of his growth. And
his entire character growth is dwarves are all right.
Yeah,
gems are pretty.
Gimli's the exact same way. He's like, I guess before he'd be like, elves suck, and then he's like, I guess that elf doesn't suck, but the rest of them suck. And like that's character growth. Is the 2 racists are not quite as racist at the end of it. Sam can now do like a 16-minute mile, so good for him. and like
he passes gym class.
Right. Merry and Pippin are 4 inches taller with bushier hair. Like that's growth. Nothing happened. They literally went all across the world and fought in 2 wars.
Yeah.
So I didn't really think about it because I've always been a fantasy trope person.
Yeah.
So I didn't really realize that like none of these characters have a ton of depth.
Yeah, we do. We do prefer when there's character growth, Alex. That's true. I was gonna say it's almost like think of it like I feel like this novel is very much of the times of when it was written because you have a lot of a lot of those like fantasy novels from this time is like the main character is a static personality who's meant to be like the vehicle for the world that's being told. And like you have this like character that's basically unchanged and like you finish the story and it's the same character. He's the same person kind of at the end of what like at the beginning as he is at the end of the story. And right. because these authors would reuse that same character for the next novel. So the next novel, you're going to get Artek the Knife again. He's going to find a reason to be grumpy and like not like his friends anymore again. And then he's going to find more friends.
He can't help it.
Yeah. And he's just going to repeat the same sort of cycle again. And it's like, that's like, it's a serial, I would almost put it as, it's like a serialization of it. So it's like TV at the time. Like there aren't like, you don't have like an 8-episode arc where the character changes throughout. You've got one episode, the character is the static, and then the story moves around the character. And then it's like the same character the next episode.
That's precisely why TNG was so good.
Yeah,
but
when they ended the season with Locutus, and everyone thought that Picard was going to die. Mm-hmm. It's like that you were assimilated. That's character growth. That's risk. That's permanent change. That's why.
But you started talking about R.A. Salvatore and Drizzt and Brunner, and all of them grew immensely as characters, and they were reused constantly. I mean. Yeah. Drizzt started out in Menzoberranzan, which was very, very, like probably the most chaotically evil place in most settings. Like it was insane. The first few books are him navigating that loony nightmare, and then getting out and dealing with the prejudice, and then becoming, and Brunner being like, I hate everything that's not a dwarf and my daughter. Like
that's not far from the truth.
And they grew into these like legendary heroes across the land, and everybody's like, oh, Drow, well, does he got a cat? Yeah, or kill him, if he doesn't. Like, it became like those characters grew and changed, and I liked the way he did that, and those are characters that were used. But then on the other hand, you've got Caramon and Razlan Majere from the Dragonlance series, and not a drop of change at all. Rasslin is a self-absorbed, power-hungry monster that hacks all the time. And his brother is like a big muscle-bound pervert.
But, like,
you know,
they don't have to, right?
No.
Like, you know, like, it doesn't have, like, that's, like, that was why I struggled to get into it. That's what I like. But just because that's what I like doesn't mean that this is bad or different. Like, it's just different, right? It's a different type of story. It's something, it's more of a genre specific, or even, you know, fantasy D&D player. Like you mentioned you like ripped through this in 5
oh yeah, I was done in like a day and a half. Like I was.
So like you like it.
It's easy.
It's easy. It's like you don't have to put a lot of thought into it. Like,
No, none.
you know, like
Not at all.
where it's gonna go, right? Like,
Oh,
you know, it's
you
very,
knew where it was going to go at the end. The only question was, how's he not going to die
Yeah.
with the little like tattoo, and the fact that it was put through a portal. Oh, that was cool. But that was it. That was the only question you had. You're like, are they going to escape? Of course they're going to fucking escape. They're going to escape with 14 minutes left on the clock. Talk for 13. He's almost going to die, and then something's going to happen to save it. And that's the only question I have, is how is he not going to die?
It was kind of like Escape from New York. It was very John Carpenter. Like he's got the thing injected in him that'll explode and kill him, and he's got 24 hours to rescue the president and get out, and you know the clock is ticking somewhere in the narrative.
It's still wild. I still couldn't believe at the end when he's like just takes his blender hand and like shoves it into his like powerful wizard and just like, what are you gonna do now, Artek?
Yeah, that was wild. There were some swerves in this book that were like, oh my.
Yeah.
Especially when you're like 11 or 12.
That one, and then I can't think of the Mad Mage's name, but like when the Alistair just like he's like, I just made these. Well, I'm gonna put you here and then there.
It was such a great moment.
They're like, no.
Mad Mage. The Mad Mage is ancient, right?
Yeah.
Like he's one of those. Like he's not a lich. He's just like magically immortal.
Yeah.
And I love.
Well, old D&D, that was like you when you got to level 20 as a wizard, you just became immortal. Like that's just.
Well, that's the thing that made it so fun. Is like you get to those, and I like the characters that are so far removed. They just do shit to do shit. You know, like, it doesn't make any sense anymore. And I'd like to, but honestly, the conversation I had with Missy about there's no character development, I did not pay attention to that at all in all of my stories. And that comment caused me to go in this loop of being like, what about all these other characters I've read? And I realized, holy shit, she's right. Like, I don't
because you don't care. You care about the story. We've talked about this. Every single one of us, we look at a story a different way. You care about how the story moves. Missy likes the character development, character interaction.
I like the entire journey of the story. Like
you guys made a really good point that this was very much like observing a D&D session. If I look back on it, this is probably the first instance I had of how to play a D&D game. It's like a proto like Twitch stream Let's Play D&D. So in terms of character growth, it's really like how the characters interact with each other. The thing
did you read it or did you audiobook it?
No. Paperback from Indian Prairie Public Library, like the same one I took out.
That's why I was asking, because you tend to be the only one that reads the books, and we almost all audiobook them.
I gotta feel the paper or scroll through my PDF. Yeah.
But I know what you're saying. It feels like it. When you're listening to it, it sounds like you're listening to the DM tell a story. Mm-hmm. Like it really feels like you can almost hear the dice hit the table and been like, "Oh, you failed your check for traps and you got poison," you know, like.
Oh yeah, because it's the viewpoint of the story is, I can't remember what the name of it, but it's like
right? Like
it's the third, it's the third person omniscient, because it's like it's not omniscient. It's because the DM like it's like knows, it's the limited perspective. So like they kind of know like what the viewpoint is of the characters, but it's not like so-and-so thought this thing. It's like he knows like the viewpoint of Artek, and then he has a limited perspective of the other characters.
Mhm.
And
Except Murtaugh.
Murtaugh.
What is his name? Murray?
Murray.
The skull.
The skull.
So
Who served no purpose.
Whose purpose was story. Whose purpose was, God damn it, these guys are never gonna figure out where to go. Here's a talking skull, so you can figure out where the fuck to go next.
Like, so I was joking, but like, you saw like the Undermountain. There's the little Akatar little like thing, the talking skull, Dresden Files, and I know this predates all of this, right? But Wizard Chess, Harry Potter.
Yep.
Wizard's Chess is a pretty solid trope.
No, I know,
fantasy,
but like
so.
for me, like these were like a lot of these like episodic moments were like very like, oh, that reminded me of something else, like, or some other story, or,
yeah.
You know, like, so like again, like it wasn't bad. It wasn't like it was just like, oh, okay, and then it happened, and then it like moved on. And, okay, we're here.
Yeah. This was the Sonic movie for me. I walked into the Sonic movie with zero expectations. Having seen the Super Mario Brothers movie with Dennis Hopper, I was like, if I don't fall asleep, this will be a victory. I go in to watch the Sonic movie with a pretzel, and I was so surprised at how not garbage the movie was. I'm not saying it was great. I'm not saying it was the best thing ever. It was not garbage, and that surprised me. This book was the best of the worst. This is the best iteration of these cheap D&D crossover paperbacks that were just tossed out willy-nilly that you see collect dust in a used bookshop. And I was
God,
yeah, but they bring joy. Like
they do. They make me
like,
so happy to look at them.
This one,
look at them makes me happy. Like I don't even need to read them. Just honestly, the Tor label.
Yes,
the Tor label is like, yeah.
This was the literary equivalent of just like eating Twinkies at like 10 p.m. You're like, it's gonna hurt me tomorrow morning, but I'm just gonna have some Twinkies.
But it's such a happy thing, though. Like I love them, and because the thing is it's when you get when you get deep development or characters that really grow and you change with them or you take their journey with them, you get really attached. Like everybody knows what they felt like when Dumbledore died. You know, like it was a little hard. But if Artek would have gotten beheaded, you'd be like, well, you know, the other half work's coming around the corner. What's your name? Bartek. There we go.
Actually, I would have been annoyed if Artek would have died because you could tell he's the main character. Any of the other ones, I would have been like, damn it. Actually, no, the gargoyle. I was upset when they killed the gargoyle. I was upset when they killed I can't think of the gargoyle's name, but I was mad. I was like, no!
His name is Gus. It's the easiest
Gus,
to remember name.
I don't know.
Yeah, Gus.
I finished it a week ago when I was supposed to.
Yeah, I'm 2 books in after it, and the book that I'm reading after it is the hottest garbage. I was complaining, and I'm reading it just because I'm like, holy shit, this is hot garbage. I can't take it. But I'm in it, and I'm committed to find out why it's called Dragons and Sorcery with only one dragon for 2 sentences, and that's it.
What is he doing?
What are you talking about?
Speaking of like if the protagonist had died, and speaking of tropes that the Missy was bringing up, the book opens with a false opening similar to our Red Shirts review.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that was great.
Party goes into Undermountain, they're like, "We're gonna do it," and then they all die.
Yeah,
and
on level 1.
Oh my god, no! But the wording was so great because that's what pulled me into it. Is he's like, they get this thing. You can obviously tell they're a low level party.
Yeah,
and they're like,
they think they're badasses,
heroes for all time.
Yeah,
and you're like, what are you doing? And then they all die. You're like,
to rats.
Yeah, from rats. Well, we all died to a rat swarm at some point in our gaming history.
That set the pace. That set the idea that, hey, this is a D&D game novelized. Artek is Joel re-rolling a character.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm dead. All right, I'll make a new one. Artek, he's pretty cool.
I honestly would love to read a book with this, like, you know, like, because an actual D&D like book or movie or anything is like the character dies and 4 seconds later the exact same person pops out and they're like, what's your name? Mm-hmm. I'm Bob.
We need to put Joel through a meat grinder.
Yeah. where like you just keep popping back up with the same characters or roughly
Ben-
different, same level character?
Ben and I played some grinders of Dungeon Crawl Classics, which is like a modernized version
Like
of
Temple of an Elemental Evil or whatever.
yeah,
that
yeah.
is?
It's like a streamlined first ed AD&D run by Goodman Games, and we played a lot of peasant grinders. You're 0 level peasants.
You told me
And-
about this at Gen Con. You played it.
We got to
Yeah.
run one. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
I
I couldn't imagine playing a game as peasants where you have no skills, no stats. You're like barely.
Yeah.
You're like straight 10 for everything. Like got nothing.
It's bad. It's so much fun, but it's bad.
Get through literally.
And we lost Missy.
Missy's
Oh, you
like,
lost me a long time ago.
Oh no!
oh, sorry. Back to the books. My bad. Pokemon, go.
Yeah. This is like one of those books. Like, there isn't a whole lot. Hold on. Oh, I don't know what that is on my screen. Oh, that's a cord in my back here. Never mind.
It's almost a blueprint for DMing. It's like just
Yeah.
here's examples
Exactly.
of what you could use.
Yeah. There's a lot of fun moments. There's like they met like the weird like Gene Stealer cult at the beginning. They had then there was the gargoyles. Then they fell from the gargoyle pit and found the skull guy. Then they fell.
This was well done. Like this was what I liked it because it allowed a lot of the theater of the mind for a campaign. Like it was well done, and it was like the articulations of it was like the DM who was articulate enough to tell the story that you pictured where you were at. I mean, it's not detailed enough to where like when we were with the discovery of witches, we're like, we all now think we spent time at Oxford. You know, it wasn't that detailed, but it was detailed enough to where we were like, you knew you were underground. You knew you were in a cave. You knew it was dark and everything was gross. And, you know, like you could picture where you were at. And so, I mean, like, it reminded me a lot of, you know, the very first games we used to play together.
The floating skull trope, Dresden Files. There's a floating
Bob?
skull. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. There's a floating skull called Mort in Planescape Torments, which is the first Infinity Engine game by Black Isle, and that game was popular enough that it set into motion Baldur's Gate 2, Icewind Dale, Baldur's Gate 3 now, which is everyone's playing, which is blowing up, wouldn't exist without a humorous, VA portraying a talking skull in Planescape, which was like maybe 2 years after this.
Yeah.
So there's.
I will say the VA for this went like all in on this game, on this book.
Oh yeah, you could tell he was definitely a fan.
Yeah.
I gotta find this. I gotta find this
It's good.
recording.
It's on Audible. He went all in for all of the characters. It was awesome.
I like how Artek sounded a lot like, you know, like your grizzled old veteran.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
And then Gus sounded like
I'm getting too old for this shit.
Gus
You know?
sounded like a stone figure that like had trouble getting words out.
Yeah.
And then you had the skull guy who was just an old man.
That was you. I
That
could
was me.
figure like you were voicing the skull because that's what he talked like.
He was basically Navi. He was like, you press up C when you're stuck, and he's like, hey,
Hey, listen.
Yeah, I've been all over this place.
He was very obviously the DM's like, oh fuck, they're stuck again. You have the skull speak up.
a DM PC that just kind of floats around.
Yeah, the one that gets you back on track, the
Yeah.
conductor.
No, he was hanging from Artek's belt the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine.
Well, we've all done that. Bob was my railroad.
Yeah.
My railroad
Door
conductor.
door in the middle of nowhere opens. Hey, get a move on.
Fucking around.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
Brendan, what's your favorite trick to get people back on track in your games?
So, I think we mentioned this we were DMs talking DMing. I think it was one of our one of my first episodes. I run a 1, 5, and 10 minute minute class, I guess you call it, sand timepieces. And what ends up happening is it's not that it runs out and then I do something to change the story. In front of everybody, I just flip that thing. Everyone's like, oh shit, what is he gonna do? Oh, we got 10 minutes. Oh, and so I don't even have to do anything to change the narrative. I just very publicly flip that thing, and I Pavlovian dogged the party. Right? I like conditioned. Oh,
I've manipulated.
Oh shit, he's turned it over. He's turned over the timepiece. We gotta move. So I don't even have to do anything anymore. I just kind of flip it, and I'm like, guys, something's gonna happen. And very rarely do I have to do anything anymore. So but yeah, I talked to Ben about this. I'm not a huge Star Wars guy, but my favorite one is A New Hope, because my favorite part of movies, which is like the least entertaining part of movies to most people, is editing. I think the pacing of a story and when portions of a story are given to the viewer is super important. And George Lucas's wife got the Oscar for a reason. The way that movie was paced.
She saved that because his vision was shit. And everything was in the wrong order. Yeah, but
so yeah,
that's a good point you bring up, because there is
no different. The campaign is no different.
You guys are literally not even anywhere near the book.
We went off topic. That's fine.
Yeah,
it's a Dungeons and Dragons book. We're going to talk about D&D.
We're personalities. We're entertaining.
All right, I guess getting back to the book, Melissa. I guess you kind of started giving your thoughts on it, but what do you think?
Everybody, get to it. Cough it up and focus. Let's go.
What was your question?
I said you started giving your opinion of the book, but what did you think for a 70s era fantasy novel?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was fun. I thought it was cute. It was like very episodic.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there was nothing that really kept me wanting to keep going.
Yeah,
which was, but then I want to say maybe like the last 3 hours,
mm-hmm.
like it went quick. Like it was like, and so that's where I was more engaged, especially like the wizard who was like.
Once they figured out what they needed to do, it was kind of like it's when the book picked up.
Yeah,
like once they got to the last apprentice, they're like, oh fuck, and then once they hit that point, they were like, all right. And then they figured, and then that's when the book really picked off. I do think that this one it was a very slow burn until they got probably to the gargoyle, mm-hmm. and then the book really picked up some steam there. So, because the rest, there was a lot of just walking through tunnels and avoiding traps, and then all of a sudden that's when shit started getting crazy. Then they were like, oh. And then they were like, all right, we have a goal. Let's find these apprentices. And then they're like, oh, well, on to the next apprentice. And then that's when the book picked up pace a lot, I think.
I mean, honestly, that's also D&D.
Mm-hmm.
99% of every D&D campaign is the first 5 levels. You're just wandering on, be like, is this evil? No, it's a rabbit. Oh, moving on.
Can we kill it?
Can we go into the cave? It's like the start of every single role-playing game. Every Skyrim, you walk out there, they're like, there's rats in my cellar. And you go poke rats until you're level 5.
Give me a table leg, I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Missy. I think it was about 2/3 of the way through is when it really took off. The middle third was was a little bit, but I feel like the first third was a little slow until they kind of found their groove a little bit. And Artek kind of is with the point when Artek started trusting his compatriots is the point where it really took off.
Well, and the point where he was the wizard betrayed them, and he was like, what do you mean about that gate? You sent them to go, but not everyone, he couldn't have gone through without a human. What do you mean?
You lied, you bitch.
It felt like a Scooby-Doo villain.
It was Mr. Jenkins.
It was me the whole time.
It's me, Austin. It was me the whole time.
You can kill me. And he's his character development is he's everyone thought my orc side was coming out when I went to go strangle the life out of her, but it was a hug.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because like that's the whole thing. Is like he like any other point in the book, he would have just like he would have been like, "How dare you!" and like cut her head off. But then he was like, "You've been with us. You had like every opportunity to leave before this, so like, and you hadn't yet. So."
I think but again, like it was fine, right? Like it was perfectly acceptable for what it was.
Yeah.
And like if you had no expectations on it being some sort of deep, like if you did, like you would be very disappointed. But
yeah, I didn't expect to learn anything from this book. That's for sure. I didn't expect to like learn anything deep about human nature or anything from it, but it was entertaining. Technical.
It's actually sounding a lot better than what she was. So.
Am I?
Yeah, it's she's on a rough time.
All right. I feel like we've kind of exhausted the topic of this particular novel.
You may go back to D&D DMing.
Well, I was going to say that I think we're done talking about the book, kind of, but
turning the thing. You could go back to turning the.
It is now my turn to choose a book.
And everyone's like, "What is he going to do?"
It's my turn now to pick a book. And I...
All right, thanks for joining us today. Is it your turn? I don't feel... What was the last book I picked?
I can't remember.
See? That sounds like I'm being skipped.
Benjamin. I can look back.
It was Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Yeah.
That's a movie. I didn't pick that.
We can look it up right now. I'll look it up. I'm pretty sure it's my turn.
I honestly don't remember ever.
I don't know. I think it might be his, and then you, and then me, and then Brendan. But he usually gives his pickup.
Yeah, it's the time you give your pick away. You do.
Do I? That sounds dumb.
So last time, before Brendan, it was, and then there were none by Agatha Christie. You picked Picture of Dorian Gray. Leave me alone.
That doesn't sound like something I would do.
Yeah. So it is my turn to pick a book, and I would like...
repick because that book sucked.
No, we enjoyed it. I would like for us to return to the world of Terry Pratchett.
Oh, I was going to say 40K. I'll always take Terry.
No, I told Missy I wouldn't do it again because she said she wouldn't partake if we did another 40K book. I've got to wait another year or so before she lets me get away with that one again.
There's Heresy Part 12.
No.
Horus Heresy, the entire series.
It's been
all 77,000 books.
It's been a while. I would like for us to return to Discworld and the world of Terry Pratchett. Last time we did The Color of Magic, which is a very Joel-focused Terry Pratchett novel.
The first book, right?
Yes.
But the turtles. That's what she said.
Yes. But I would like for us to go read Equal Rights, which is the first book of the Witches novels of Discworld, which is, I feel, Missy might enjoy. It's right up. It's Equal Rights. That's RITES. It's about a bunch of feminism. It's got a really grumpy witch in it. They've got like a witches circle. It's a lot of fun. I've read all of it. I've read at least the first novel of each of the.
Read 3 lines.
No, actually, I did spam through like these ones, but I would also suggest. I know Brendan, you don't always do this, but last year and this year, Penguin Books redid all of the Discworld novels as like redid the audio for all of them, like reshot them.
Oh.
It's really good. It's almost like an audio drama. I've been on a kick on them
they
recently.
have some really good ones on. What the fuck is Scribed called now?
But no, I would suggest the Audible version because they redid all of them for Audible original.
Cool.
Yeah. So I mean, you'll probably find a pirated version, but I would suggest people listen to it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. I love Granny Weatherwax and all the other characters in this one.
We could do this next week because it's only a 4-hour book.
Is it that short?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's not bad at all.
I could do it next week then.
Knock that out in the afternoon.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Are you on Scribed or are you on Audible? Because that sounds like it might be like
it's the book.
Yeah.
Audible is 7 hours, but it sounds fun.
Yeah. Like I said, they re-recorded all of Terry in honor of its like.
So are we agreeing to all uniformly do this all on Audible?
I would request it because it's so good. I've been listening to a bunch of the re-recorded ones and they're so good.
None of that matters because right now on Audible they are having the Slayers, which is Cordelia and Spike's story from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That is what we are reading now.
Gross. Oh, look at that.
That is a puppy Missy wants.
That's a pug.
That looks like an Easter.
That looks like a bunch of health problems wrapped up into a tiny package.
Yeah, it's part pug, part chihuahua.
Yeah. Oh my God, you made it worse.
I believe you mispronounced and meant to say awesome.
It's a chug.
Okay.
It's a what?
A chug.
That's what it's called, a chug?
I don't know, I'm probably.
It's canon.
It deserves to exist for that alone. That's funny.
My God. All right.
So it pulls on a cigar. Yo quiero Taco Bell.
But it's all like gritty and.
So yeah,
all right.
Yeah. Anyways.
So downloaded right now. It is
awesome.
Good to go. Are we going to do this next week, or are we going to come up with some bullshit to make up?
I think I can make it happen next week. Yeah, it's an easy enough
7
one.
hours?
Yeah,
That's
7 hour novel.
Solid day of fucking off at work.
Shh. I'm going up to Wisconsin this weekend, so I'll have plenty of time to listen.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah, so thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed our little episode. It sounds like we're ramping up we're briefly ramping up our timetable for book talks. So next week we're going to do Equal Rights by Terry Pratchett. We'll see you again then, as well as on Thursday for our regular Dungeons and Dragons stuff.
Yeah.
So thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you again soon.
Yeah. Don't forget, like and subscribe to all the new people on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.